Yeah, sure, step aside, kid. We're in a...
Michael Wazowski. As a young boy, he dreamed of becoming a scarer like his idols, working at Monsters Incorporated, and despite his disabilities, was accepted into the prestigious Monsters University. By the end of the prequel film, he accepts that his purpose wasn't to be scary. It was to support his best friend, James P. Sullivan, as the ultimate partner in their career. They accepted offers to work in the mailroom at Monsters Inc., and after bouncing around various departments, they were given the opportunity to be a scare team. Wazowski was signed to a 5-year, $50 million contract to operate as a scare assistant for Sullivan, and they quickly rose the ranks to become one of the best performing units in the company. At such a young age, Michael had already become highly accomplished and a well-regarded individual within the corporation. Profits were at an all-time high, and he could have just rode the wave into retirement. But no, Mike Wazowski is a leader, an innovator, and a beautiful man, and he wasn't going to stop there. In the first film, he made a scientific breakthrough that laughter is a much better energy source than screams. This discovery changed the framework of monster society forever, and resulted in his promotion to senior co-president of Monsters Inc., as well as chief executive vice deputy administrative director of comedy resources management. Everyone knows Mike Wazowski is the lovable green dumbass with a relentless drive and passion for visionary thinking. This not only elevated him to corporate success, but also transformed Monstropolis forever. True leaders never stop pushing boundaries, and nobody showcased this trait more than the legendary civil rights activist Martin Luther King Jr. MLK Jr. needs no introduction. He was one of the most prominent leaders in the American civil rights movement from 1955 until his tragic assassination in 1968. Like King, Mike Wazowski became a civil rights leader in his own right, standing up against a system that exploited fear for power. While King fought to dismantle segregation and systematic racism, Mike didn't just challenge the status quo. He completely redefined Monstropolis' energy system by replacing fear with laughter. Despite one of them being a green piece of poop, both men sought to uplift the oppressed. King advocated for the equality of African Americans in a divided America, while Mike fought for a kinder, more ethical treatment of children and disabled monsters. I want to analyze how their lives parallel and how the similarities of their stories prove to all of you that Mike Wazowski is the greatest civil rights activist of all monster time. Martin Luther King Jr. and Mike Wazowski both faced challenges early in their careers as legendary civil rights leaders. In 1955, MLK was thrust into the leadership of the Montgomery bus boycott, and at the time, he was a young pastor with limited experience leading mass movements. Despite this, he rose to the occasion, using his exaggerated swagger and moral authority to inspire others to join the cause. He had to deal with threats, harassment, and even the bombing of his own home, yet he remained unfazed. Why? Because he was a man of the people. King's perseverance during the boycott, despite overwhelming adversity, helped lead to the Supreme Court's decision to end bus segregation in Montgomery. In Monsters University, Mike Wazowski arrives at college determined to achieve his lifelong dream of becoming a scarer, a prestigious position in the monster world. However, Mike is told by others that he simply isn't scary enough. And at first glance, can you blame them? He's small, he's weak, he smells like ass, and he lacks the natural spookiness of other students like James, which makes others doubt his abilities. But Mike Wazowski doesn't give up. He believes in himself and in the power of hard work, studying, and dedication. Even after being expelled from the scare program by that bitch Hardscrabble, Mike refuses to give up and finds an alternate path by teaming up with Sully and an insanely dank group of other aspiring scarers in the scare games. Just as King faced prejudice and physical danger, Mike had to confront a different kind of discrimination, the assumption that his round appearance would limit his potential. Both characters face problems, MLK's being a social one and Wazowski's being a physical one, but they persist because of the belief in their cause. King's early civil rights work, like Mike's journey to becoming a scarer, shows that blood, sweat, and tears can eventually overcome even deep systems of doubt or oppression. While King's challenge is to lead a monumental social movement as a young, unknown figure, Mike's challenge is to overcome societal expectations about his appearance and abilities, and to prove the world that anyone has the potential to be a top scarer, even if you're as beautiful as Michael J. Wazowski. I love him so much. In both cases, early adversity tests their resolve, but through perseverance, they rise above those challenges. In Monsters University, Mike and Sully start as bitter rivals. Mike believes that studying and working hard will make up for his lack of natural talent, while Sully is a naturally good scarer, but also a cocky piece of shit. Throughout the film, they fight to the death, rip each other limb from limb, but they eventually realize that their different strengths complement each other. Mike's intelligence and strategy, combined with Sully's natural God-given scare abilities, make them the perfect duo. Their teamwork is not only essential to winning the scare games, but also during their eventual career as professional scarers at Monsters Inc. Like Mike and Sully, MLK Jr. worked alongside other civil rights leaders, some of whom had different approaches to activism. For example, King collaborated with leaders like Ralph Abernathy, Andrew Young, and John Lewis within the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, as well as with groups like the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. These groups sometimes had different strategies. SNCC often focused on grassroots organizing, while the SCLC emphasized large-scale demonstrations. They worked together to achieve common goals, such as the Selma Voting Rights Campaign. King was also faced with different ideologies. MLK is known for his philosophy of non-violence and peaceful protest, while other leaders like Malcolm X opted for a more ferocious approach to civil rights. Despite these differences, many leaders in the movement found ways to align their efforts for the greater good. Now, back to Wazowski. He is such an amazing monster rights leader, and it's because he believes in the power of love. His and Sully's partnership symbolizes a broader theme of collaboration and overcoming rivalries to achieve a greater purpose. In the civil rights movement, King's ability to unite different groups and personalities mirrors the way Mike and Sullivan set aside their rivalry to win the scare games, and also to later reform the monster world's energy system. Their teamwork is crucial during both of their lives for creating lasting change. Martin Luther King Jr. spent his life challenging deeply rooted systems of racial segregation and oppression. The main goal of the civil rights movement was to dismantle institutionalized racism in the United States, particularly in the Jim Crow South. One of the most notable campaigns was the Birmingham campaign in 1963, where King and other activists faced brutal opposition from the police and the local government. Despite these challenges, King was committed to nonviolent resistance, organizing sit-ins, marches, and boycotts to expose the injustice of segregation. In Monsters Inc., Mike and Sully discover that their place of employment has been involved in unethical practices. It turns out that squinty-eyed piece of shit Randall is secretly kidnapping children and exploiting their screams to generate power for the city. Upon learning this, Wazowski's heart was broken into a million pieces. Since he was a child, he looked up to the scarers at Monsters Inc. He dedicated his life to working hard and becoming the best scarer like the pros told him he could be. And this whole time, it's all been a fucking lie. He fell into a deep depression and almost gave up. But no. That's not the Wazowski way. This system is built on fear and exploitation with little regard for the well-being of human children. If he didn't step up to the plate now, they would continue to suffer at the hands of the dictator Randall. Him and Sully took great risks to expose Randall and the corrupt system, and there were thousands of casualties. In the end, Mike and Sully were able to help implement a new system where monsters make children laugh instead of scaring them. This shift transforms the energy industry in Monstropolis and improves relations between humans and monsters. Just as Martin Luther King Jr. challenged the racist, segregationist system in the US, Mike and Sully challenged the fear-based system in Monsters Inc. Both worked to bring about social change, but I just want to highlight Miguel's accomplishments here. Not only did he advocate for civil rights and equality of monsters and human children, but also reform the energy industry in Monstropolis. He is a hero. His creativity and perseverance resulted in a change that benefited society as a whole. So there you have it, Mike Wazowski, the green one-eyed wonder who managed to become one of the greatest civil rights activists in fiction, and literally turned that frown upside down. His humble beginnings, rivalries, and challenging of the system make for a story that MLK himself would stand up and give a hearty clap for. He showed us that if a beautiful, round man such as himself can make an impact with a bit of humor and determination, maybe we should all take a cue from him and try to change the world. If one eye can make such a difference, just imagine what we could do with two. I love you all, and thanks for watching.
Goodbye.